energy and unavailable energy. Okay, right. So if you recall the concept of second law, right? So according to second law, it is not possible to convert the total amount of heat into work. So means according to second law, what it is, 100% efficiency is not possible. If it is 100% efficiency, we can call it as PMM2. But according to second law, complete conversion of heat into work is not possible. A portion of heat supplied should be rejected as some waste that to the sink, right? So that's why, yes, mute your mics, please.
Sure.
A portion of, hello, roll number 51. Okay, right. A portion of heat supplied must be rejected, right? So it implies that 100% efficiency is not possible. But in contrast, electrical work can be completely converted into mechanical work by neglecting the friction losses. Electrical work is completely 100% we can convert into mechanical losses, right? So different sources of energy may be divided into two groups. One is the high grade energy and the second one is the low grade energy, right? High grade energy means the energy which can be completely converted into work without any loss. That is fully utilizable. That is called high grade energy. That can be completely converted into the work without any loss. That is called high grade energy. Example are mechanical work, electrical work, wind power, water power, tidal power, kinetic energy, etc. So these energies we can completely convert 100% into the work. So only the low grade energy is the heat energy. The heat energy obtained from anything is the low grade energy, because complete conversion of heat into work is not possible according to second law. Okay. Now low grade energy is energy which cannot be converted completely, means only a certain portion of that can be converted into the mechanical work. The portion of that energy can be converted into mechanical work is called low grade energy. The example are all energies associated with heat are the low grade energies. So heat energy, thermal energy, heat flow from nuclear fission, fusion, and heat from the combustion of the fuel such as coal, wood, oil, etc. So these energies are called low grade energy. So short answer point of view important. What is high grade energy? What is low grade energy? High grade means the energy that can be completely converted into the useful work. Whereas the energy that cannot be completely converted means a portion of that can be rejected into the sink. That is called low grade energy. Right? From this we can define what is available energy and what is unavailable energy. Okay, right. Available energy is the portion of energy in cyclic engine which gets converted into the work. Right, the portion that can be converted into work is called available energy. Okay, and the portion of the thermal energy which is not utilized, which is not utilizable, that is rejected to the sink, is called unavailable energy. Right now, right. So let us say if we consider the heat engine, right, we are supplying Q and W is work done, and this Q2 is rejected. Q1, Q2. W is equals to Q1 minus Q2. In this one, Q1 minus Q2, let me change the color. Q1 minus Q2 is called available energy. Q1 minus Q2 is the work done by the system, that is called available energy. What is available energy? The energy that can be utilized into work, that can be converted into work. In this case, so work done is equals to Q1 minus Q2, that is the available energy, and the thing that is rejected to the sink, right? So Q1 is the supply, Q1 minus Q2 is the work done. The rejected Q2 that can be rejected into the sink is called unavailable energy. So don't get confused. High grade energy, low grade energy, available energy, unavailable energy. High grade energy is nothing but that can be completely converted. That can be completely converted into work is called high grade energy. And the low grade energy means some portion should be rejected. That is low grade energy. And available energy is the energy that can be converted into work is called available energy. And the energy that is rejected to the sink is called unavailable energy, right now. And the term exergy and energy are the synonyms for the available and unavailable energy. So we know the total energy is sum of Q1 plus Q1 minus Q, right? If you add Q1 minus Q2 plus Q2, what is that one? Q1. What is Q1? Q1 means what? Q1 is the total energy. In this total energy, this is the available energy and this is unavailable energy. If you add available energy plus unavailable energy, you will get the total energy. Therefore, total energy is equals to available energy plus unavailable energy. So available energy is also called as exergy. Unavailable energy is also called as energy. Right now? Right. As we already discussed, if heat rejection is less, what does it mean? The work done will be more. If Q2 is less means what? Q1 minus Q2 is more, then work done will be more, right? So lower the temperature at which heat rejected, lesser would be the amount of heat rejected and more would be the work. If Q2 is less, work done will be more. That's what the meaning of this. Okay, if Q2 is less, Q1 minus Q2 will be more. Therefore, work done will be more if the heat rejection is less. Lower temperature correspond, right? The available work from the system becomes maximum. The available work from the system means what? Q1 minus Q2 is maximum when the system is brought in equilibrium to the state of surroundings. Means if the heat rejection, the temperature T2, if heat rejection temperature is almost equal to atmospheric temperature, at that time the work done by the system is maximum. Means I can say that the system is equilibrium with the atmosphere. I can say the system is equilibrium with the surrounding also. If the system is equilibrium with the surroundings, means the temperature of the waste is almost equal to atmospheric temperature. At that time, the work done is the maximum. Okay, so means I can say availability is defined as the maximum work available when the system comes to equilibrium with its environment by means of work and heat transfer. Means availability depends upon both system and surroundings. Got the clarity? So total four things I discussed: high grade energy, low grade energy, available energy, unavailable energy. Can anyone repeat all four definitions so that I can go to next topic? Anyone please repeat. What is high grade energy first? 6051. 6051, are you there? Hello. Right, roll number 45. Absent. Yeah, 301. 301. 301. 302. 302. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can anyone tell me what is high grade, what is low grade, what is available energy, what is unavailable energy?
High grade energy.
See, high grade energy means the energy that can be completely converted into work. That is completely converted into work is called, that is high grade energy. Whereas coming to low grade energy, a portion of that can be rejected into the sink. Portion of energy that can be rejected means complete conversion is not possible. Some portion can be rejected into sink. That type of energy is called low grade energy. Available energy means the energy that can be converted into useful work. The energy that can be converted into useful work is called available energy, and the energy that cannot be used for any purpose, that only that can be rejected to the sink, that is called unavailable energy. Now it is clear? Please answer. Is it is clear?
Sir, available energy, what
Students?
is, sir?
Yes, sir.
Available energy. Available energy is what? That can be converted into work. If you take heat engine, right? Let us say Q1 is the heat supplied. What is the work done? Work done is equals to Q1 minus Q2. So this is my available energy. Q1 is the heat supplied. Q1 minus Q2 is the work done. Then Q2 is the heat rejection, right? So Q1 is going into the engine and it is doing W and it is rejecting Q2. Means out of this total energy, which is available now for me, Q1 minus Q2 is my available energy. Means this energy can be converted into work, and Q2 is the waste that is rejected to the sink. This is unavailable. I cannot use any further, that is unavailable. I can use this one. This is my available energy. The energy that can be used is the available. The energy that can be rejected is the unavailable. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Right now, because only 10 students are there. If you don't get this also, it's no use. Right now. Right. Now, you can
Yes,
see this
sir.
figure. Now, right, look here. So a heat engine is taking Q amount of heat from the source and producing some W and rejecting the remaining heat to the sink, right? As you know, Q is equals to ds is equals to dou Q by T, or I can say Q is equals to T into ds. Okay, from entropy we know Q equal to T into ds. Okay, right. Now W max is equals to, let us say this is Q2 and this is Q1. So W max is equals to what? Q1 minus Q2 is the W. Q1 minus Q2 is the W, right now? Right. Now what is Q2? Q2 is the heat rejected to the sink. What is the temperature of the sink? T naught. So Q can be written as T into ds. Q2 can be replaced by T naught into ds. So Q1 minus T naught into ds is the energy that can be converted into the work. Therefore, I can call this as the available energy. And this T naught into ds, this Q2 is equals to T naught into ds. I cannot convert, I can use this energy. This energy is going as waste to the sink. This energy is called unavailable energy. The sum of available energy plus unavailable energy is called total energy. Means if I add Q1 minus T naught ds plus T naught ds, I'll get as Q1. So the total energy is the sum of available energy plus unavailable energy. Clear now? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Right, now one more last topic. Right. Helmholtz function. Helmholtz and Gibbs functions. Important for short answer. That is also available, unavailable. And next what is high grade, low grade. Important for short answer. From today's class, you will get one short answer pakka. Helmholtz and Gibbs functions. Helmholtz and Gibbs function, right? Let us consider a closed system. Let us consider a closed system. What is meant by closed system? What is meant by
Only
closed
energy
system?
interaction.
Only energy interaction, no work interaction across the boundary. Only heat can be added, heat can be rejected. Right now, let us assume which is initially and finally at the temperature of surrounding environment. Right. So the temperature is equal to the surrounding environment. Okay. Right. So it is equilibrium with the surrounding. Right. From first law, what can I write? Dou Q minus dou W is equals to du, or I can say dou Q is equals to dou W plus du. From first law of thermodynamics I can write, and from second law I know that dou Q is equals to T into ds. I can write now. From second law, dou Q is equals to T into ds. Okay, right. So here dou Q minus dou W equal du, right? Again, dou W is equals to du minus dou Q. Dou W equal du minus dou Q. Right. What is? Let us assume. Let differentiate this one. Let us differentiate this one or integrate anything. Right. So W is equals to U integration only. Let us integrate. Let's integrate. We get W is equals to U between the limits 1 to 2, U2 minus U1, right? Sorry, dou W is equals to, this is minus du. Yes or no? Minus du plus dq. So minus of U2 minus U1 plus dou Q I can replace with T into ds, means S2 minus S1. Therefore, W is equals to U1 minus U2 plus T into S2 minus S1. Let us take one terms one side, U1 minus TS1 minus, if I take common, U2 minus TS2, right? Now there, let us say T, I can write, I am assuming T is equals to T1 is equals to T2, means this closed system is in equilibrium with the environment initially and finally, means this temperature initially T1, finally T2, and atmospheric temperature is T. This T is equal to T2, T is equals to T1. Okay, therefore I can write it as U1 minus T, I can write as either T1 or T2, depends on the application. U1 minus T1 and U2 minus T2 S2. The term U minus TS is called Helmholtz function. The term U minus TS. What is U minus TS? The difference between internal energy and the product of temperature and entropy. I can denote it with the symbol A. This is called Helmholtz function. This is the Helmholtz function, right? So just I am using first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics. So from first law of thermodynamics, take work out right now. So let us, this is also not required. Right, directly we can write dou W. So dou W equal to du, so minus dou Q or minus du plus dou Q. This one. Just integrate on both this. W is equals to U2 minus U1, where dou Q can be replaced with T into ds. Integral ds is yes, upper limit minus lower limit. Then take two terms others one side, one terms other side. So therefore U minus TS is a function. I can call it as A1 minus A2. So the term U minus TS is called Helmholtz function. Okay, now coming to the Gibbs function. Now coming to the Gibbs function, this is for non-flow process. Right now, what I discussed, Helmholtz function is basically for non-flow process. Non-flow process, and the Gibbs function is for flow process. For flow process, there is an exchange of work also, that is mass also. Okay, so therefore, Gibbs function. So Gibbs function, it can be applicable for open system, nothing but for flow process. Open system is nothing but flow process. Closed system is nothing but non-flow process. We already studied all those things. Okay, right? So in case of flow process, flow work at entry and flow work at exit need to be calculated. Whereas in earlier, there is no mass of mass flow across the system. Therefore, the system is equilibrium with the surrounding atmosphere initially as well as finally. But here we need to calculate work initially and finally, right? So we know, let's say work is, as we know, W is equals to integral PdV, right? So let us say I am assuming P1 V1 is the entry work, P2 V2 is the exit work. This is the work at entry and this is the work at the exit, right? So by considering these two, I can write W is equals to, okay, from just now I written U1 minus U2. This one, this equation only I am writing. Just for that I am adding that one work also, plus T into S2 minus S1 plus, okay, P1 V1 minus P2 V2. Entry minus exit, right? Now if you rewrite rearranging the terms U1 minus U2, one time I am taking T2, one time I am taking T1 plus P1 V1 minus P2 V2, right? So again take U1. Can anyone define what is enthalpy? What is enthalpy?
Sum of internal energy and the product of
Sum
pressure and
of
volume.
pressure and volume, right? Yes. P2 V2 minus T2 S2. Right? If you see, sum of internal energy and product of pressure and volume is called enthalpy at inlet H1, and this term can be replaced with enthalpy at outlet H2. Right now, so therefore further I can write this is H1 minus T1 into S1 minus H2 minus T2 H2. The term H minus Ts, that is the difference of enthalpy and product of temperature and entropy, is called Gibbs function G1 minus G2, where G is the Gibbs function. G is the Gibbs function. Means if you see here earlier, this is A1 minus A2 and this is G1 minus G2, right now. So the term H minus Ts is called Gibbs function and is defined as the difference between enthalpy and the product of temperature and entropy. Okay, the change of Helmholtz and Gibbs function, you can see G1 minus G2 or A1 minus A2 are called free energy, that is energy that is free to convert it into work. W, because W is equals to difference of these two, either A1 minus A2 or G1 minus G2. Therefore, I can define the change in the Helmholtz and Gibbs functions are called free energy, and that is the energy that can be converted into work. Okay, right. So this is about the Helmholtz and Gibbs function. So remember, Helmholtz function is for non-flow process and Gibbs function is for the flow process. Compulsory question, either 2 marks or 4 marks. With this, our third unit is completed. Okay, right. Now, so tell me, any doubt in this one, in these two functions? Anyone, please respond. Any doubt in this one?
We can't write delta G, sir.
Your voice is not clear. Sorry.
We can't write delta A or delta.
Can you repeat?
We can't
Delta?
that
No, because delta is not required right here. In terms of differential form, if you want to write, we can write. Okay. Right.
yes, sir.
Right. 1 second. Right. Can you see the syllabus? Just now I opened till it is loading. Wait.
No, sir.
Yeah. Can you see the syllabus? No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Your screen is not visible,
No.
sir.
1 second. Okay. Now can you see? Now can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. In this we completed 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay now. Right. So now I am starting 5th unit. Now I am starting 5th unit because it is very important, and the continuation you are going to study in next semester. And 4th unit, let us say we are we may start physical classes from February 1st or maybe it depends on the government decision. Okay, right. So because here in order to solve the 4th unit, I required charts. I require stream tables and psychrometric charts. And first I will complete this 5th unit, then I will come to the 4th unit. By the time if you come to the college, well and good, or else solve problems by using charts online only. Okay na? Now today I will start 5th unit.
Okay.
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 Okay, right. So now thermodynamic cycles. So today I will explain the terminology of this one. Right. Do you know what is, just now we know that heat engine, right? What is heat engine? What is heat engine?
Series of processes during which
Define. Heat engine is a device which convert heat energy into work energy. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. So in other way, I can define which can convert the chemical energy of the fuel, into the mechanical work. How the heat energy is getting? By burning something, then only you will get the heat energy. Means if you burn the fuel, which energy the fuel will consist? Fuel will be the hydrocarbons, yes or no? Your fuel will be the hydrocarbon structure. If you burn the fuel, so means the chemical energy, this chemical energy is liberated. This chemical energy is converted into mechanical energy. That is the purpose, that is the use of heat engine. This heat engine converts chemical energy into mechanical work, right? So basically, these heat engines are classified into two categories, right? So internal combustion engines, internal combustion engine, and external combustion engine. Internal combustion and external combustion. Okay, so internal combustion means the name itself it indicating that. So combustion is nothing but burning of the fuel. Combustion means what? Burning. Why we need to burn? We require heat energy. Heat energy will be liberated by burning the fuel. Okay, right. If the fuel we are going burning inside the some chamber, closed space, inside some fixed volume, then I can call it as internal combustion engines. All our automobiles nowadays, all our automobiles are internal combustion engines. Okay, internal combustion engine. Whereas coming to external combustion engine, right, here we are burning somewhere outside. And the products of combustion, the products obtained after burning, those products we are taking into the required place where it is required. Right now means the combustion is outside the chamber, and we are using the product of combustion to drive the engine. That is the external combustion engine. And example are all steam engines. If you see the olden days locomotives, right? In olden days locomotives, the locomotives are running based on the steam, right? So how the steam is produced? Steam is produced by in the boiler right now. So boiler is used to produce steam. What is happening inside the boiler? Inside the boiler, water will be there, and heat is added to the boiler. So if heat is added to the boiler, what will happen? The water is converted into the steam, and the product of combustion are using in the engine. Right now, this is my steam engine. Now the steam is going to expand in the blades of the engine. Thereby you are getting the mechanical power. That mechanical power is used to drive the locomotive. Means here the combustion is taking place outside the engine, and the products of combustion we are expanding at the required position. Whereas coming to our IC engine, within the IC engine we are burning the fuel, and those combustion products we are taking to convert this one into mechanical work. This chemical energy of fuel is converted into heat energy, and this heat energy is used to drive the piston cylinder arrangement. Thereby you are getting the mechanical power, right? Now you don't have any idea about piston cylinder. I know. I'll explain the terminology associated with the piston cylinder, right? Maybe I explained at the time of first unit. Maybe again I will repeat that. Okay, right. So remember, heat energy, it converts the chemical energy into the mechanical work. Okay, chemical energy into mechanical work, and there are two categories: internal combustion and external combustion. All our IC engines, internal combustion engine. Nothing but our automobiles are internal combustion engine, and steam engines, steam turbines are the external combustion engines. Okay, na? Right? And now coming to the basically these IC engines are two categories: petrol engines and diesel engines. Petrol engines and diesel engines. Okay, right. So what is petrol? What is the basic difference between petrol and diesel engine? Can anyone? Petrol engine and diesel engine. Okay, so in petrol engine, how the burning is taking place, how the fuel is going to burn? We are using spark plug.
Ignition. Sparking.
Yeah, spark ignition. We can call petrol engines are called SI engines, spark ignition engines, whereas diesel engines are called compression ignition engine. Okay, maybe your diploma, right? Who is talking diploma student?
No, sir. Regular student.
Regular, very good, very good. Right. What about diploma? They are sleeping or what? Spark ignition engines, compression ignition engines, right? So in case of petrol engine, spark plug is used. Okay, so therefore we are calling it as spark ignition engine. Whereas in compression ignition engine, we don't have any spark plug arrangement. Here we are using compressed air as well as fuel pump is used to combust the fuel. We are using fuel pump. Okay, or fuel injector. fuel injector. Okay, right. So here you don't require much about the petrol and diesel engine. Okay, right. If spark plug is there, then that is a petrol engine. If fuel injector, nowadays in petrol engines also fuel injectors are using. Okay, so if in case of diesel engine, spark plug will not be there. So in place of spark plug, fuel injectors are used to inject the fuel. Okay, so usually here in diesel engine we are taking air as the fuel initially. Okay, you don't require much. Okay, and one more thing you remember, petrol engines are working on constant volume, and diesel engines are working on constant pressure. How it will be, you'll study in detail in coming semesters. Okay, timing you remember, constant volume engines are petrol engines. Here nothing but here the burning of the fuel is taking place at the constant volume. Here we are going to burn the fuel by maintaining the volume constant. Here we are going to burn the fuel by maintaining the pressure constant. Okay, right. Now let's see the terminology. What is this one? Cylinder, and this is the piston. Okay, right. So the terminology is, I can call this as top dead center. Remember all of you. This is top dead center, and this is the bottom dead center. Means in between top dead center and bottom dead center, piston can reciprocate. This length is called stroke length. This is the stroke length, means so the piston can move up and down in between the two centers, that is top dead center and bottom dead center. I can call this top dead center is also called as inner dead center, and bottom dead center is also called as outer dead center. Okay, and here I have the connecting rod. Here I have the connecting rod, and this connecting rod is connected to the crank. So always this crank will rotates. This crank means this is the rotates, and your connecting rod reciprocates, and right. So connecting rod oscillates, we can say, to like this, and the piston will reciprocates inside the engine. One second. Achut, pani down. Hello, yeah. Now let us this is our engine, right? So inner dead center, outer dead center, top dead center or bottom dead center, and the length between top dead center to bottom dead center is called stroke length. Now when the piston is at bottom dead center, can you hear me, all of you, please?
Yes, sir.
All of you can hear
Yes, sir.
me, right? Now at this instant of time, where is the piston? At the bottom dead center, right?
Bottom.
Now this is the total volume, right? Now this volume is called total volume. So now V1, let us say, I can say V1 is the total volume. Depends. In some textbooks will use some different notations. So now this is the V1, total volume is the V1. V1 is equals to total volume. Now here we have inlet valve, here we have outlet valve. Here let us assume it is petrol engine. Here we have the spark plug, right. So now generally, theoretically, while studying, we can say piston will move from TDC to BDC theoretically, but practically it's not possible to touch the piston head. This is the head of the piston with the cylinder head. What are the reasons? Can anyone tell me? Practically the piston head will not touch the cylinder head. Why? Can anyone?
Sir, for mixing of fuel and air.
Gas tank.
One
Inside
person
gases just
Sir,
inside.
fuel and air
gas.
mixer. Compression takes place in between
Fuel
that.
and air mixer. No, no. Anybody?
Sir,
Anybody?
inside
Any diploma
gases.
student?
Sir, can
Inside gas. Okay.
Ignition, sir.
so
Yeah.
reciprocation of piston
Now,
when hits the cylinder wall can damage the cylinder permanently,
hmm,
sir.
yeah, can damage the
That's why
cylinder.
we
Okay, that is one
maintain
reason.
certain
So the
clearance, sir.
question is, yeah, the question is, we won't allow the piston head, this portion, to touch the cylinder head because two reasons. So the one reason is the valve design. You can see the valves are projected one, yes or no? The valves are projected from the cylinder head, the as well as spark plug, right? So the design of the valve does not permit the piston to touch the cylinder head. That is the one reason. Second reason is every stroke. Let us assume the engine speed is 1000 rpm. 1000 rpm, right? Means if the speed is 1000 rpm per minute, how many 1000 revolutions per minute? Okay, and per second 1000 divided by 60. Okay, now, right? So at the time, almost 16 times the piston will reciprocate in a second, right? Means per second that many strokes it is reciprocating. So that what will happen? Due to this, what will happen? Wear and tear will be more, friction will be generated. So these are the two reasons. That is the reason always there will be clearance between the piston head and cylinder head. Okay, na? Means the maximum position of the piston will be this much. The maximum, right? Now this volume is called clearance volume. This volume is called clearance volume. Means the piston can move only till this point, and after that it can move down. Okay, now the remaining volume, that is the volume sucked by the piston, I can call this as swept volume. The volume the volume when the piston moving from TDC to BDC, the volume swept by the piston as it moves from TDC to BDC is called swept volume, and this is the clearance volume. Clearance volume is the volume between the piston head and cylinder head. It always remains. Why? Because the design will not permit the piston head to touch the cylinder head, right? Means the sum of clearance volume plus swept volume is called total volume. Agree? The total volume, right? Now, the sum of clearance volume plus swept volume is called total volume. Clear this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Let
sir.
us yes, mute your mic. Somebody unmute it. Okay. Right. Let us assume what is the stroke length? Stroke length is L, and let D is the diameter of the piston or diameter of the cylinder. So D is the diameter of piston or diameter of cylinder. So when the piston is moving from TDC to BDC, so this is the area filled by the fuel, right? Now, so therefore swept volume is equals to volume of the cylinder, that is area multiplied by the length, pi by 4 d square into L gives the swept volume. Agree? This is the area, pi by 4 d square is the area, and multiplied by the stroke length gives the volume of the cylinder. Okay, clear now? Swept volume, the volume swept by the
Yes.
piston when it is moving from TDC to BDC, that is equals to pi by 4 d square L, where D is the diameter of the cylinder or diameter of the piston, both are same, and L is the stroke length, that is the distance between TDC to BDC. Okay, and VC is the clearance volume and VS is the swept volume. The ratio, right? VC plus VS is equals to total volume, V total. Okay, so the ratio of V total to the clearance volume is called compression ratio. Compression ratio. Compression V total by VC. V total is equals to V clearance plus V swept by VC. That is equals to 1 plus VS by VC. Total volume to the clearance volume is called compression ratio. Okay, and one more point here, piston speed. Distance speed is equals to the distance traveled. The distance traveled per minute. Distance by time is called speed. The distance traveled per minute is called piston speed. 1 second. Kumar, 2:15 కి అయిపోతుంది కుమార్, క్లాస్ వస్తాను. పెట్టినావా పైన? అవునా, గణపతి సార్ నువ్వు వెళ్ళిపో సార్. Right. Distance traveled per minute is called piston speed. So that is equals to 2 into L into N by 2 into L into N meters per minute, where L is the stroke length, N is the speed. Speed in RPM. RPM is called rotations or revolutions per minute. L is the stroke length. So stroke length units are meter and the speed is in revolution per minute. Revolution is only number. So meter per minute is the unit for the piston speed. Okay. And one more definition is there here, mean effective pressure. Mean effective pressure, right? So why we are calling it as mean effective pressure? See here, let us say this is the cylinder and piston. The piston is reciprocating. Can one tell me, is the speed of the piston is uniform throughout the working? My question is the velocity or the speed of the piston is uniform throughout the working?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right, now, so it's wrong. The velocity of the piston is fluctuating. Velocity is fluctuating.
No, sir.
Because why? Because it's not uniform. Yes or no? Velocity is not uniform because
Yes, sir.
here the piston is always moving between TDC and BDC, right? Means it has to change its direction for every revolution. For every revolution, it has to change its direction. Means it should move from BDC to TDC and it should move from TDC to BDC. The moment when it is changing its direction from TDC to BDC or BDC to TDC, what may be the velocity? It should be almost zero. Then only the direction is reverse, right? Right. When it is changing its direction, the velocity is zero. Again, the velocity is increasing. Again, the velocity is decreasing. Like that, the velocity is fluctuating, increasing, decreasing, again increasing, decreasing. Means the piston is subjected to fluctuating velocity. Therefore, what is there here? This is the working fluid. The working fluid in contact with the piston will also be subjected to fluctuating pressures. Did you catch my point? The velocity is fluctuating because it is changing its direction. When the velocity of the piston is fluctuating, the fluid in contact with the piston is also subjected to fluctuating pressures. Therefore, the pressure inside the cylinder is also not constant. It is also varying, right? So therefore, the name is given as mean effective pressure. So the mean effective pressure can be calculated by dividing work done with the swept volume. The work done by the cylinder per cycle to the swept volume gives the mean effective pressure. Okay, na? So that is the mean effective pressure. So what are the units for work done? Work done will be joule. That may be Newton meter. Right? Now swept volume will be meter cube. Right? Now, so Newton joule is the Newton meter. So Newton meter per meter cube. So meter will be cancelled. You will get the units of pressure. Pressure units is Newton per meter square SI unit, right? No? So therefore, mean effective pressure can be defined as it is a ratio of work done per cycle to the swept volume is called mean effective pressure, right? So today we discussed about what is the total volume, what is the clearance volume, what is the swept volume, what is the compression ratio, and what is the piston speed, what is the piston speed, and what is the mean effective pressure. These are the new terms Apart from that, we studied what is top dead center or inner dead center and bottom dead center or outer dead center. These things we discussed today. Okay. In tomorrow's class, we discuss how a petrol engine works. Okay. How to calculate the efficiency of the petrol engine. Okay. Clear now?
When will have
Don't
results?
miss out the results. You may expect this week.
Okay. Sir, tomorrow holiday, no, sir?